Greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to the Wild Digest. I am Scott. Apologies, I haven't been on for a few days. Boy, I'm kind of new to the whole booktube thing, and I have to say, when you miss a couple of days, it starts to sting. You start to realize, boy, I really need to get back on that camera. So, again, apologies, but I'm back. I've got this video, and I've got another one in the works. So that one will drop probably in the next couple of days. So keep your eyes out for that. All right. Just a little quick update, as I tend to do. No hauls or anything right now. I've got some stuff coming in the mail, so maybe I'll do something like that soon. But yeah, we're still in Book Trek. Holy crap! It's still August. What is it? It's the 22nd as I record this, so I still have quite a few days to go in August to fill it with the glory of Star Trek. So I want to talk a little bit about Corona, which I did finish. Focus, please. Please focus. Oh my God, it's not going to focus. Anyway, Corona by Greg Bear. Let's talk a little bit about this one. So, first of all, it's a short novel. It's comes in just under 200 pages. So, if you want to read another quickie, this is a good option. If you like Vulcan stories, a very good option because it involves a group of Vulcans. Uh, but I have some other issues with the book. Look at this. Every time I talk about Star Trek books, I'm like, I got issues with this, but that's the way it's going to be. Um, Overall, it's a pretty good read. I'll just jump right to the end. I'm going to probably give it about a three out of five. The crew itself is all handled very, very well. They're all pretty much in character, and they're presented as well as can be for a classic Trek novel. Where things start to go awry uh, uh, involve a couple of things. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about Greg Bear. So, Greg Bear was a pretty prolific author. I think he wrote several dozen science fiction novels of his own. This was his only Star Trek novel, as far as I can tell. Neat little side bit of trivia I found out about him. He was one of the, I think, 5 people who created San Diego ComiCon. So, and he passed away just a few years ago, sadly. But he is pretty well known. I'm sure a lot of you have read other novels by Greg Bear. So let's talk about this book. So my feeling from the outset is that Greg was probably working on a science fiction novel of his own, and he came up with a couple neat little concepts, had an opportunity to write a Trek novel, and said, hey, I've got this thing that I've been working on. Why don't I tweak it a little bit, throw in the Enterprise crew, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. It doesn't quite work as well as it should have, but let's break it down. So, the main plot of this novel is a rescue mission. Pretty standard fare for a Trek novel. There is a science station occupied by Vulcans. It's in a contested area of space, which is also handled a little strange because they get permission from the Romulans to go and take out this rescue mission. I don't know how much the Romulans would be like, yeah, sure, come fly through our space to go off on your little rescue mission, but that's neither here nor there. So they go off to investigate and rescue these Vulcans who sent out a distress signal like 10 years prior, and it's only more or less been picked up. 10 years to a Vulcan is, that's a drop in a bucket. They live hundreds of years. So that in itself is a perfectly fine Star Trek novel. Go off, go off on this rescue mission, find these Vulcans, discover that there's an alien influence, deal with the alien influence, crew wins, off the Enterprise goes. That would be fine. But Greg Bear drops in this side story, which is almost like a parallel story. It's not even a side story. It's almost like this is a totally different novel that should have been written. He could have written 2 Trek novels and it would have been fine. The other storyline involves the introduction of a monitoring system. I think it's just called the Monitor, that's put into the Enterprise out of the blue. And it's effectively AI versions of 6 renowned individuals from Starfleet. So there's starship captains in there. I think there's one very renowned surgeon, professor that was one of McCoy's professors. His mind is in there, and the idea is that this thing is constantly monitoring command staff and second guessing them, offering alternatives, and even criticizing them in the process if they make the wrong decision, quote unquote. I mean, we're talking about Kirk here. And I could totally have seen a good novel there where it begins to take control of the Enterprise, put the crew in danger. They have to figure out a way to override it. It defends itself. It's effectively it would become a Nomad story, but maybe that was the problem. Uh, so yeah, so that story is running concurrent with the Corona plot, and the Corona references an alien intelligence. I'm not going to spoil it too much. Um, Totally different plots. Really should have existed in two different books. I don't know if that monitor thing ever continues beyond the book. More or less at the end, it sounds like they all kind of make a decision that this is not a good thing and it should go away. But if anybody's read any other Star Trek novels of that era, I think this one came out in like 85 or so, and there's monitors in there, please let me know. I'd love to know if they carried that thing on or if it was just a one-off. All right, so that's the two conflicting plot lines, which I have issues with because, like I said, I think it would have been two completely different books, and that would have been fine. Uh, there are also two characters introduced in this novel. One of them is effectively the protagonist, and that is this woman Mason, who comes from a mining colony. She's totally racist. She grew up without any interactions with alien species, so she's got issues with Spock and the other Vulcans throughout the book, and tries to overcome them, but I don't know if she ever really does. I hate using this term because it's a gross one, but she's very much a Mary Sue in the sense that without her, the main storyline would never have gotten resolved. I don't like that because I want to read the story about my crew resolving the story, but that's just me. So Mason, kind of an annoying character. She's a reporter as well, so that's a whole nother issue. And then there's also another character who's introduced, the shabbily dressed Yeblin, I think his name is. And he is the guy who works with the monitor system. And the big problem with him is that there are exchanges where command staff are interacting with him asking about the monitor system, which is all fine. But there's some sequences where Kirk is second guessing his own decisions and asking Yeblin what he should do, which I found very, very jarring. Not a big fan of that. And this character, again, I don't know if he ever continues on in the books anywhere or if he was a one-off rather, but not a big fan of Yeblin. I think it was Yeblin. What a bizarre name. Anyway, so that's Corona. 3 out of 5. It was fine. I didn't hate it, but I certainly had issues with it. You're like, do you like Star Trek? Of course I do. Speaking of which, I've started reading this, which is Strange New Worlds Toward the Night by James Swallow. See if I can get that in the frame. And this is a brand new hardcover. It just came out, I think, in April of this year. I'm about 100 pages into it, and I'm loving it. I'm a big Strange New Worlds fan, and Swallow gets all the characters absolutely right. I can totally picture and hear their voices in my head as I'm reading it. There have been just great funny moments, great character moments. I'm really enjoying it. Now, I don't know. I think this is only the third Strange New Worlds novel they've released, but so far it's great. I don't know the authors of the other two. I'll have to look into those. But hopefully they're as good as this one because I may wind up just continuing to read any of the Strange New Worlds novels that they release. This one is published by Gallery Books. Oh, one other neat thing about this. While the book itself, without the jacket, is just a paper cover, nothing fancy by any stretch, they did choose this like nice command color gold, which is pretty cool. I'm sure that was intentional. It would be neat if like the other ones are like a pale blue and a red and etc. But anyway, that is Strange New Worlds Toward the Night. 100 pages in, just shy of 100 pages. and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Okay, that's my current book trek update. I'm almost positive I'll be able to finish up that Strange New Worlds novel soon-ish, probably in the next few days, and be able to squeeze maybe probably one more Trek novel in for the month. So I'll get through 5, which is, for me that's pretty good. I'm very busy right now. I can't help it. I'm doing multiple writing projects, having a great time with them, but it's just interfering with my reading time. So to get 5 Trek novels done in a month, that's not too bad for me. All right, speaking of reading events, monthly reading events, I was all gung ho. I don't know if you saw it. I was all gung ho about my idea for Short Story September, and I shared with you how I picked 30 stories, and they all start with the letter S, and they were all randomly selected, and it was going to be this great thing, and I was going to read it through the month of September. Well, speaking of writing projects, I've got some stuff interfering with that idea. I have to read some other stuff because I'm writing something that I need to be researching. But that actually may wind up being a reading event in its own right. So we'll see how that fits in. But I'm still hoping to read some short stories. Whether or not I can get 30 done in the month is debatable. I mean, again, I don't even know if any of these stories are like 3 pages long. So if they're like that, yeah, maybe I'll crank through a ton of them in a single day even. But if not, I'm going to have to stagger some of my short story reading with some of my research reading, and we'll see how that goes. If maybe I just shoot for doing 15, do half of the 30 on that list, and I'd be contented with that. But we'll see what happens. Short story September, maybe short story September, or something along those lines. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated about that. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think. I think it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, I'm actually going back east. My wife is going to be signing at ComiCon Erie in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm tagging along. So for those of you in the area who maybe are thinking of attending ComiCon Erie, I'd love to see you. I'm going to be running some Flash Gordon role-playing game demos alongside In the Zone Gaming. They are a game retailer that exhibits at the show, and they handle the gaming track, so to speak. There's not a lot of stuff going on there. I think they have some Magic the Gathering, card games, Pokemon, things like that. But I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm going to be there. I wrote all these role-playing games, and I'd be up for running some demos if you want to set me up with at a table. And they were totally gung-ho about it. So I whipped up this graphic for them. And they were delighted, and they've scheduled me to run some games Saturday and Sunday. So if you're in the area, if you're at the con rather, and you want to meet me, you want to play some role-playing games, I'll be running Flash Gordon. No experience necessary, beginners welcome, pre-generated characters provided. It's just a fun little demo, and we'll have a great time. And I'm going to have some swag with me. So if you play, you're going to go home with some stuff. So if, again, you're at the Comic-Con Erie in Erie, Pennsylvania in the middle of September, come and find me. And find my wife. She'll be signing at her table in the vendor hall, I think. I think that's where they're set up. All right, so that's Comic-Con Erie. What else? What else? Yes, I am working on another show, another episode, a show. What is this? Dim the lights? Yeah, anyway. I'm working on another episode of The Wild Digest that I will be dropping shortly, and it's appropriate for Book Trek because what I want to do is go through the history of Star Trek role-playing games. As I mentioned in my BookTube tag, role-playing games are big in my life. I have a fairly large collection. I'm fairly knowledgeable about them. And every once in a while, we're going to dip into them a little bit. So I thought because of Book Trek, I will go over some of the history of Trek in the role-playing game universe, going all the way back to the 70s. And I've got some stuff. I don't have everything, but I have a fairly decent collection, and I'll be showing off some of that stuff and then just showing some images on the screen as well of some of the other things that are highly collectible and very tough to get your hands on. But that'll be coming up, I think, in the next episode. So keep your eyes out for that, especially if you're a Trek fan or a role-playing gamer or a role-playing game collector or just a book nerd, because they're mostly books. Okay, so that is it for this episode. Trek continues. I'll get back to my Strange New Worlds thing, and I will see you in the next video, talking all about the history of Star Trek role-playing games. Take care.